Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. My dear students, we are still dealing with chapter 1, which is supposed to be an introduction to the book, Better English Pronunciation. Our lecture for today can be entitled How to Improve My Pronunciation in English. If anyone asks you, as you are now specialized in English, if someone asks you, how can I improve my pronunciation in English? Here are some steps that help people improve their pronunciation in English. The subtitle of our lecture today is called, or is, Lend Me Your Ears. Lend me your ears. Actually, at the beginning, you should understand that to be able to pronounce in a good way, you should not train your tongue first. First, you should train your ears to listen to English before you train your tongue to pronounce English. So the first step is to practice listening, then to practice speaking. We are going to talk about this in details. So, the question is, learn how to start learning English pronunciation. Actually, we are more concerned with how. How do you improve and develop your pronunciation to be a fluent speaker of English? First, and the most important step is to listen to English. This is the first step. So it starts with listening. It starts with listening. So you should listen for the sounds, not for the meaning. Because normally when we speak with anybody, we are very much concerned with getting the meaning of the other person. And the other person is much concerned with what we say, okay, and the meaning of what we say. So we are after meaning in normal conversations. But when we talk about pronunciation, we are not much concerned with meaning. We are much concerned with and more concerned with the pronunciation. So you should train yourself to listen to the sounds rather than the meaning. Okay? You can, while listening, you can focus on specific sounds, and each time you each time you listen, you can focus on a different sound, especially the sounds that you feel difficult for you or new for you. Because don't forget, we are talking about foreign learners, not native learners of English. Actually, native users of the language, they start listening as soon as they are born. But for you, you are learning English at a later stage of your life. You should start listening to the sounds rather than the meaning. Okay? So, for example, you can listen to a piece of or utterance, شيء منطوق نقول عنه utterance, and you focus on G. Sorry, not G. G is a letter. On G sound, for example. And the next time you listen and focus on the pronunciation of H sound. And another time you can focus on P sound, etc. So again, we are more concerned with sounds rather than with the meaning of what we hear. Okay, not the meaning, the sounds. Okay, so what to listen to? Now, as we said, the first step is to listen to English. Can we go and take anything that is spoken in English and we focus on it and start to learn? I advise you to listen to good English. Good English. So, someone of you might ask, is there a bad English and good English? It's not as the terms imply, good and bad, but good English, what I mean by good English is that the English that is spoken by native speakers. So don't, if you want to learn how to pronounce English in a good way, don't go to listen to anybody. Try to listen to the native speakers. So for me, I'm not a native speaker. If you plan to practice listening, go to native speakers. Don't listen to my pronunciation. Okay? And you should listen to materials that are spoken by native speakers, and at the same time they are for educational purposes. There are lots of materials, cassettes, CDs, DVDs on the internet, YouTube. You can Google and find so many materials about pronunciation. You can listen to them. Okay? Here you will have the advantage of listening to careful, slow pronunciation, and more importantly, you will not find swearing words or slang words. For example, bad words pronounced by in street language or vulgar language, يعني اللغة السوقية. If you find a material that is designed for education, to educate people how to listen and how to pronounce English, it's actually devoid of any swearings and bad words. Okay? So I don't advise you to go to listen to movies or songs. These are not made for educational purposes. You can listen to them, no problem, but don't rely on them. Rely more on educationally designed materials. Okay? After you listen, you should go and practice. You should go and practice. How to practice? Don't practice speaking the language silently. Silent practice is not very helpful. It's not very helpful. What is more helpful if you speak aloud? If you speak aloud. So whenever you want to practice, you go to your room, lock the door, close it, and start imitating. تقلد, imitating what you have listened to. After you listen, you go and imitate. Okay? So when you imitate in a loud voice. You can shout. You can, actually, I don't advise you to scream. Otherwise, the family will say, okay, my little daughter or my little girl is becoming crazy. No. So make it aloud. Make it aloud. Enough. Okay? And you can put a mirror in front of you. This is also very helpful. Put a mirror in front of you while you are speaking, while you are practicing aloud, so that you can see, for example, the movements of the lips, the shape of the mouth. If the tongue is coming forward and becomes maybe between the teeth, between the lips. So it is important to have a mirror in front of you. You can see the inside of your mouth, the speech organs. You can see أعضاء النطق. Okay, so this is the second piece of advice. The third one is record your pronunciation, to listen to it as much as you can. So after you listen, after you practice, you record your pronunciation. You take your mobile phone or your laptop, whatsoever. If you have a recorder, you can record your pronunciation by yourself. And it's better to record the same pronunciation you have listened to. وقلنا بالبداية نستمع إلى شيء من الإنجليزية. Now practice this, record this, the same, because it is important later on for comparison. Okay, so you can record yourself with the same pronunciation you have listened to earlier. After that, you compare your pronunciation with the native speakers. So after you listen, then you practice, you record, you bring the recorded material, your voice, and the native speaker's voice. You play them one after the other, if you can, together if you like, and you compare your pronunciation. And you should, while you are comparing, Pay attention to every single sound. Repeat the comparison many times. After you compare your pronunciation with the native speakers, now the most important stage is to identify problems and work on them, work on improving them. Okay, so identify the differences between the native speaker's pronunciation and yours. For example, if you record your pronunciation saying the word, for example, page, page, and you as a native speaker, you are likely to say it beige, beige, because Arab learners usually change p into b, because p is not found in Arabic. Then you are going to listen to the native speakers and identify that the native speaker says page, page, and you say beige. This is a problem. Should be identified by you, and you should work on fixing them. Now, with practice, you should say page, page, page. You listen to the native speaker and you come back to your own pronunciation, record it until you pronounce it in the correct way. After you pay attention to single sounds first as a first stage, for example, you can pay attention to the pronunciation of sound ra, because ra is somehow a special sound. It should be produced in a special way. So it's not read, it's read, right, right, right. Okay? So you can also pay attention to this. You practice it until you get it with the English like ra, read, right. Okay? After you pay attention to the pronunciation on the level of single sounds, you can go on and work on speaking style aspects, just like intonation and rhythm. For example, you can pay attention to the way the native speaker asks a question. For example, how are you? How are you? This intonation is very important, again, to pay attention to and to imitate, to record, to compare, and see whether you are saying it in a good way or not. It's not how are you? How are you, for example? So you can, again, work on these things. Don't forget that fluency does not mean that you speak quickly. No, it's not the idea of speed. You can speak clearly and slowly. This is better and more effective, more successful. So speak clearly in good English that the native speaker would not find strange. Some people are fond of speaking quickly. No, this is not fluency. Fluency is to speak clearly in good English. Okay? Even though your speech level or speaking level or rate is not that fast. Now we have another question. Which English shall we study? Because as in the case of Arabic, for example, we have an Arabic spoken in Egypt, which is different from the Arabic spoken in Syria, for example, or in Iraq. For example, in Iraq we say shlonich when we ask how are you, or ask a female and say how are you. In Egypt they do not say shlonik. Okay, they use a different way. Okay, zayik, for example. In other Arabic, in other accent or dialect of Arabic, they say kifik. Okay, احنا عندنا ممكن شلونك, ممكن شلونك. These are different accents of the same language, which is Arabic. Again, in English, we also have different accents of English. We have Canadian English, Scottish English, American English, British English. So among these types of English, can we learn them all? No. Shall we choose one and learn? Yes. So what is the accent of English that we normally choose to study and to learn. Okay, as we said, there are so many kinds of English spoken all over the world. They are different from each other, they vary greatly. No persons can speak exactly the same pronunciation. So what English should we take as a model? Okay, what English should you take as a model to study? Are you learning the language? You should ask yourself first. Are you learning English for general everyday conversation? In this case, choose the language you want. Learn the language that serves this purpose. The purpose is to use English in general conversation, everyday conversation. For example, if you live in India, you can learn Indian English, no problem. If, for example, a British person comes to Egypt and he wants to learn Arabic, which choice we should recommend for him? It's better for him to learn Egyptian English. If that person is going to live in Lebanon, it is Lebanese Arabic. Lebanese Arabic is the best choice. Okay? Because these people are going to use Arabic for general everyday conversation. For us, for foreign learners, BBC English is the best. It is the best. Is not the best choice for those people, but for people who are learning English in a place where English is not spoken for general communication. The English that you learn to speak at schools, colleges, and universities. In this case, BBC is the best choice. BBC English is the best choice. Or General American is also a good choice in this case. So either to go to General American English or to BBC English. In our course, the English accent we depend on and we adopt is called RP English. RP English. What is RP English? هذا اختصار لكلمة received pronunciation. هذا accent is the accent we choose as a model to teach you. So what is RP? RP is simply the accent used by educated people in Southeast England. It's spoken by 3% of English speakers around the world. So there are no, it's not the major accent of English used all over the world. No, the majority of English does not choose or use this accent. This accent is spoken by only this very limited percent. Okay, sometimes it's called the BBC English because it is the English used by British Broadcasting Council. The presenters, the reporters, they usually use this language. يعني محررين صحفيين مذيعين في قنوات BBC, they use this English. That's why they call it BBC English. It is called the King's English or the Queen's English. It is the English that that's used to do or used to be spoken by noble people, by parliaments members, by the royal family. كانت تستخدمها العائلة المالكة، أعضاء البرلمان, the noble people اللي هم النبلاء. That's why it was called King's, Queen's, BBC English. This is RP English simply, not in details. So the question is, why RP? RP, it is the most widely described and investigated accent of English all over the world. So there are lots of books, papers, journal articles that are written about RP English, about the description of RP English. So whenever you need to read and learn more, you will find definitely maybe thousands of books and papers about RP English. So it is very well known. It is often used in dictionaries specialized in pronunciations. So dictionaries, very prominent dictionaries outstanding dictionaries, المميزة المشهورة, they usually depend on RP English, especially if these dictionaries are for pronunciation purposes. It is the accent recommended to foreign learners in many parts of the world. So, for example, if we go and see the accent of English taught in Saudi Arabia, we are going to find that it is RP. In Jordan, RP. Syria, RP. In different parts of the world where there are foreign learners, usually the best choice is RP English or British English. Okay, British English. So this is what we mean by RP and why do we choose RP as a model for teaching you. Now the question is, do you know any differences between RP and General American English? If you know any of these differences, please give your answers in our Google Classroom. Thank you very much for listening. We will see you inshallah to discuss the